Bonjour, brought to you by Safaricom, a proud sponsor of Team Kenya at the Olympics.
Thank you for joining us for another edition of Bonjour, Mr. Elias Makori. Of course, it's good to join you once again. And this time around, we're in a certain different environment in terms of our coverage and our review of the Olympic Games.
Yeah, we are, next to Hotel de Ville, where the marathon start will be. I can see it about 100 meters away. And to our right, there is a Kenya House, which is showcasing Kenya's sporting, cultural, trade, and all attractions that we have in Kenya.
Absolutely, and in terms of the Kenya House, we'll be touching on that briefly in the course of the show, but I think it's important for us just to reflect on Team Kenya, the actual athletes who are here competing at the Olympics. I think for the National Rugby Sevens team, it's been quite an experience for them. It's been a learning curve for them competing at the Paris Olympics.
Yeah, it's been a very good learning experience because, they came in, 90% were, first-timers in the Olympic Games. Only the captain, of course, and and Humwa, the captain, of course, having played in Tokyo, and Humwa was also in the Tokyo team. But the rest of the players, a combination of stage fright, lack of experience, lack of exposure. But you saw they gained the momentum towards the end, defeating Uruguay in the playoffs, and then again beating Samoa to eventually finish 9th overall.
Yeah, for us, first of all, we wanted to get out of our pool. That's something that's been kind of elusive the last two Olympics. We wanted to make sure that we probably get to a quarter, but the reality was that we're going to meet a lot of experienced teams actually beefed up, brought all their best players, and for us it's a young squad that's just been made up. This is our first season together. I can say the experience was good, and in terms of the tournament itself, we've ticked our boxes, and also we've checked areas that we really need to improve on. We'll use this tournament as a pre-season before our pre-season for the circuit.
Of course, that was the head coach of the National Rugby Sevens team, Kevin Wambua, and for him, he termed it in short. He said that it was a pre-season for the National Rugby Sevens team because for them, the end game, Mr. Elias, is they are preparing for the World Sevens Series where they'll be competing, the earned promotion. So competing against Uruguay, as you've said, competing against Australia, competing against Argentina, those teams give them an idea of what to expect once they compete in the World Sevens Series.
We tested with our attacking and defensive frameworks and just put a baseline on where we are realistically, and we're going to have a plan together as a team and see areas that we really need to improve on and areas just that we are comfortable and happy with, that we can continue just working with.
Looking at all the games that you've played, it seems like you kept changing things. First game when you played against Argentina, second game when you played against Australia, and then the third game against Samoa, and then now, of course, the other subsequent matches against Uruguay and Samoa again. Seemed like you were very keen about shaking up the things.
Yeah, definitely. The game is evolving at a very, very, very fast pace, and you need to make sure that you keep up with the trends, and you can't approach every game the same way. So, of course, we do our homework on opposition, and I just try and identify their strengths and weaknesses, and try and chart up a game plan on how to approach those games. And some games we tend to try and stick to the same game plan if we think they're going to play the same way. So definitely that's the beauty of sevens. You need to have that adaptability, and that's one thing that we are going to do a lot.
Learning curve for Coach Bling Wambua. The lads are 21 years, 22 years, so it's a team that we're going to see for a while in the HSBC 7 circuit. We did again hear the government make a commitment to give them a permanent residency either at Kasarani or at the new stadium coming up on Gong Road, so that they are on a throughout the year kind of training schedule, because really to compete in the 7 series, there's no way you can be part-timers. You need to be full professional. You remember the Australian coach mentioning that they were preparing for 3 years for these Olympic Games, and the Kenyan kids were just just a month or two coming into Paris.
Like the Australian coach, John Manetti, was eager. He congratulated us. We pushed them. He was kind of wary because he knew if we start off on the right foot, definitely we'll shake them. We'll draw experience. We'll draw courage. We'll draw motivation of that. So most of these teams try and hit us early so that we can be demotivated and try and make mistakes. And for us, it's just more of a situational awareness, training those situations whereby you are trailing a game and just how you need to take care of the ball better, how composed you need to be when you're on the ball. So that's one thing we're going to work on a lot. Just thankful for the opportunity again. Being complimented by some of these coaches is really a big plus to the boys. I think it gives them motivation. Sometimes you might think you are not good enough, but at the end of the day, if you make the Olympics, man, you should be proud of that and you should know that you are among the best in the world.
Actually, in my rugby career, this is the ultimate best level I've achieved as an athlete. So I'm super proud, but the best of all versions of the Olympic competition was being able to play in a fully packed stadium. That's why from every corner you could hear Team Kenya shouting, your names being chanted from all corners of the pitch. So it was amazing. So definitely as a player, that's the best you could wish for, is playing a packed stadium. So it was an amazing experience.
So just tell us about the games you played against Argentina, Australia, Samoa. These are teams you're going to face off at the World 7 Series.
You know, when the pools were released for the Olympics games and we were supposed to play against Argentina, Samoa and Australia. First of all, Argentina were from winning the overall circuit, so we were like, this is the best team in the world. We trained for those guys and somehow in the middle of the game we were like, oh, this guy is beatable. Before the last 2 minutes of the game, where we lost with a bit wide margin, but definitely from the game we can pick our lessons and we need to be precise in what we want to achieve as a team. But all those teams you can play against them and you can match in terms of physicality, the skill wise, but it's all a bit lack of concentration that cost us the game, but we are good to go.
You know, Elias, the World 7 Series is slightly different. It's slightly different environment this time around, especially because they have reduced the number of rounds and even they reduced the number of teams. And then the Challenger Series seems to be the tournament that will ideally, obviously, the teams that are being promoted, but it just gives you a sense of what to expect in the top tier, because top tier, second tier, the gap is big, but but also the competitiveness is almost the same.
Yeah, and then looking at what we saw at the Stade de France. France winning the gold medal, beating Fiji. Everybody thought it was automatic that Fiji will take the gold, but France shocked everybody. That shows you that there's a shift in balance among the big boys of world rugby. So for Shuja to really remain in the circuit, it will be a very tall order. And like you mentioned, in the Challenger series, everybody else is fighting to gain promotion. So it's a very, very big challenge, staying on top.
Playing the top 8, for us to be the top seed in the HSB series, it requires a lot. Maybe you maintain maybe consecutive quarters appearances, the all legs of the tournament, but we need to go home, strategize as a team, come together, get all our priorities right as players in the tech bench. We need to know what to work on, player welfare, the management side, so that everybody's in sync, the players, the tech bench, we know what we want as a team. And definitely all I can say is these teams are beatable. We can play against them, we can match their energy, but only if we regroup as a team, because this is the first time experience a young team, it's the first time out as a team. So all I can say is we got the lessons, picked what we need to work on, and we'll come back better and stronger.
And indeed, France won the Olympic gold medal and they beat Fiji. That's the team that won it in 2016. They won it in 2020. And I can tell you for a fact, it's something very fascinating, because you can imagine how Fiji, this is only the only medals that they've been able to win in terms of the Olympics. The men's team won 2016, they won 2020, and the women's team has also won a medal some time back at the Olympics. But I think the special moment, why it was very special, especially for Kenyans, was the fact that there was a very, very, very famous Kenyan sevens player who was there.
Yeah, I mean, Humphrey Kayange. Humphrey Kayange is one player who really shone for Shuja, and most importantly, He's one of the people who fought for Rugby Sevens to be included onto the Olympic roster. Remember, before this, Rugby Sevens was not part of the Olympic roster. A lot of new games have come in: breakdancing, 3-on-3 basketball, rock climbing, and rugby was one of the sports. Cricket has been knocking on the door of the Olympic Games, and there's even a very wild suggestion to have, not too wild, but good for Kenya, to have the cross-country running as part of the Olympic program. Yeah, it will be interesting because, again, an opportunity for Kenya to get more medals.
And going out there and awarding Fiji their medal is really a moment that I won't forget. It really shapes up in terms of our role within sport and what we can do to further our involvement with different athletes from around the globe.
I saw you had a light moment with Jerry Tuwai. Of course, you know each other very well.
Yeah, it was a funny one with Jerry. Sort of joked and asked him, "You still around here?" And he said, "You left us here." But it was really good to see him and how far he's come, just to be here on his third Olympics. Was almost there for the gold medal, but the French were too strong for him. But you could see how much it meant for them just to being at that stage of the Olympics.
Indeed, it will definitely be very fascinating to have a sport like cross country where Kenya has definitely dominated for many years. And I think for Humphrey Kayange, you can just see how he's been able to transition from playing to sports administration. I think that's the direction most of these top athletes want. Of course, they hang their spikes, they hang their boots, they hang their whatever instrument that they're using to play. They have to also have that level of foresight to know post competitiveness, post playing the game, what can I do afterwards? And it's important actually what the National Olympic Committee of Kenya has done, having him on board as a player's rep. And also we have Helen Obiri as part of the athletes representatives in the Olympic Committee. Mm-hmm. So you find that the transition will be easier and smoother going into management. Absolutely. Now, you touched on this in the beginning of the show, and I think it's important for us to understand exactly why there's been such a buzz when it comes to the Kenya House. Just take a look at this next clip, and you'll understand why Kenya has landed with a bang in terms of marketing the country. Mr. Elias, we've been with you in the Kenya House, and I saw you, of course, just experiencing what Kenya has to offer. Tell us, just from your own perspective, how important is having a Kenya House at the Olympic Games? It's a huge marketing tool. I mean, it doesn't get any closer to being in Kenya than having a Kenya House, because we have the dancers from the Bomas of Kenya, we have the attractions, we have coffee from Kenya, tea, the ushanga, all cultural artifacts are being sold there. An opportunity to meet the legends, the players themselves. The Sevens rugby team was there. We expect and they enjoyed themselves. They really enjoyed the Kenyan food, the ugali, pilau, chapati was there, and everybody has been following the dancers. They've been doing their rounds around here on the streets of Paris, and I think it's been a sensation. I would say they've come a close second to Celine Dion's performance in terms of attracting interest here. So I genuinely wish if maybe they would have consulted certain countries to see how they can be able to just be incorporated. I know it's uniquely French, but it would have been fantastic to see, because we've seen how the Bomas of Kenya dancers have been able to just dancing and celebrating and enjoying themselves has brought all this attention from all these people. And actually, at some point, they had to be restrained from moving too much, because the crowds were becoming too big. Dancing the Sikuti, the Luo songs from coast, all over, and the people are following them definitely will be converted to tourists coming to Kenya. So it's a very good marketing tool, a really good job by the Bomas of Kenya at the Kenya House.
Kenya House is a hospitality space that basically looks at marketing Kenya, the best of Kenya. through sports, culture, heritage, trade, tourism and investment.
I mean, the Bomas dancers are bingwas.
Yes.
They have really brought the Kenyan hype into these Olympics, because everybody is talking, I'm meeting a lot of people talking about the dancers, even more than some performances on the field. So they are the bingwas for us in Paris. You know, the spectators who came following the Sevens rugby team, those on the way coming to support Team Kenya once the track field and field program begins. So a lot of people to celebrate as bingwas.
Zote za kitamaduni za Kenya, zote tunazicheza hapa Kenya House manze. Mtokee wana wa Kenya wajitokeze kwa wengi manze, tukuje tujibambe pamoja, wa enjoy manze.
That's it for Bonjour. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, au revoir.
Au revoir.
Bonjour, brought to you by Safaricom, a proud sponsor of Team Kenya at the Olympics.